View from the Gutters, episode 119. Welcome to View from the Gutters, the comic book podcast where each episode we discuss a collected edition, trade paperback, or graphic novel, and then recommend and vote on the book for the next episode. Warning: the discussion portion of this show has massive spoilers for that book. On this episode, we discuss all new Ghost Rider. And, to skip ahead to the recommendation section, skip to 5424. So, episode 119.
Hey!
I'm Andrew Chard.
I'm Tobiah Panshin.
I'm Kayleigh Fleeman.
Brant Gillihan-Eddy.
And I'm Cade Reynolds.
And before we get started,
Yes.
3 announcements
Yay.
this week.
As
I gently move my keys away from my note card. Announcement 1. Thank you, as always, to our episode sponsors, Tony Cortero, Addison Appleby, and Brian May.
Yay.
We love you all very much.
2.
Announcement number 2. I just wanted to give a shout out to one of our listeners. I was contacted on Facebook today by a very old friend of my family's named Josh. And I guess he works at I guess it's like an alternative school or an after-school program or something like that. It's called North Star Self-Directed Learning for Teens in Hadley, Massachusetts. And one of his students there gave a presentation on comics.
Oh, God, I hope they don't listen to this show.
Well, Josh said, I know somebody who does a good podcast about comics, and the student said, View from the Gutters?
Wow.
And lo and behold, it was a View from the Gutters.
Big time.
I did not get this guy's name. Yeah.
Thank you, mystery students.
Yeah, nothing I love more than when kids listen to the show, because then when I'm raging about old men, it makes me feel like an old man raging about other old men.
That's right.
Which is my favorite.
Well, it's oldest, older, old, and then not.
But I just wanted to give him a shout out and say thank you for listening.
Yes.
And give Josh a high five for me the next time you see him, because he is a cool guy.
Do that.
Unless it's inappropriate for a learning environment, then don't do that, because you don't want to
High fives are always appropriate for learning environments.
I don't know, man.
They're more rewarding than
Fosters
A's.
growth and accomplishment.
If we got high fives instead of report cards, every student would do way better.
Yeah. Well, all right.
There were teachers
There are now fans out there taking back their comments. Kayleigh is always right. That has been deleted from the internet now.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, great.
And announcement number 3. In a little less than 2 weeks, June 6th,
Yes.
we are going to be doing a panel at the Olympia Comics Festival in Olympia, Washington, along with a couple of other local Olympia Comics podcasts.
Yeah, as it stands now, should be like a joint podcasting panel with sister podcast Out of the Fridge, and probably Arc Reactions. I'm not sure if they've
we have to work out the
confirmed.
details yet. It's kind of
We're
a
hammering
last
it out.
minute putting things together, getting ready thing. But if you're in the Pacific Northwest, if you're in the Olympia area, you want to come out to the Olympia Comics Festival, you can come and watch us do a panel.
If you want to drive
talk
up
about
from California
comics and podcasting and cool
just
stuff.
for the festival.
Oh, I assume that people have already made plane and hotel reservations.
Absolutely.
Actually,
quite
it's
a large
amazing. Like
festival.
every hotel in Olympia is booked up at
There
some
are
point in the next couple of weeks.
hotels in Olympia.
Well, there's some
That is not hard.
there's some ridiculous golf tournament that's happening here, like some international level.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Up in
And
I didn't even
everything
know
is
there
booked.
was a golf course here besides the one I used to live that country club out.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Really? The one out by Evergreen?
Yeah.
There is
Wow.
also
That is a terrible course.
very gigantic one that the freeway goes around down in Tumwater.
Maybe it's that one?
I think it's one in Tacoma.
No, it's out in, oh, geez. I was just there, out near Pierce Community College, not Tacoma, but a little off to the side.
Lakewood?
Puyallup?
No. I can't remember what that
Parkland?
area is.
Anyway,
Welcome
really not relevant
to
our
the
discussion.
world of golf. This year in the Northwest at an undisclosed location, sometime in the next couple days.
Secret
we don't
underground
know.
golf tournaments.
Yeah.
High stakes, sudden death.
Point being, there are 2 hotels in Olympia. Not hard to fill them up.
Well, they had to close down the one between Olympia and Lacey because it was like a hotbed of illicit dealings.
Which one is that one?
It's whatever the Bailey Motor
Bailey
Lodge?
Motor Inn, yeah.
Yeah, no, completely shut down. Too much meth.
Cool.
No,
Welcome
Not
to
really
Inside
a
Olympia.
Not really a
Weird.
hotel either. It's like a by the hour shady motel.
Yeah.
It was okay. So it was really weird. I was walking home from the grocery store the other day, and when you walk down Capitol through Tumwater,
They're redoing that one. That one's gonna be a Hilton something.
La Quinta. Yeah, they are building a
Oh, that
hotel up there. But on the other side of that hotel, there's that big valley that's surrounded by trees, and it always looks so secretive. And I turned to my dad and I said, I want to live down there. And we were like, what is down there? And we go down there, and the whole thing is a golf course. And they literally had made the roads go around that valley. So nobody's allowed in there.
Wow. Secret
Probably
golf
owned
course.
by a
A secret
supervillain.
golf course.
So what are we here to talk about?
Oh, also, just quick aside, the house that we used to record at, not the one starting on episode 7, but the one
Yeah.
out on the water.
When we always had, what was it, Corey the
Corey,
dog.
yeah. So go back and listen to those episodes because that space does not exist anymore. Burned down.
Wow.
Yeah, so,
That is unfortunate.
yeah.
Did everybody get out okay?
No one was living there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
They were about to do a remodel.
Interesting.
So
Apparently.
I'm thinking insurance.
Yeah.
fraud.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Seems awfully
previous landlord, but
convenient.
it was convenient that everyone had moved out before the house burned down.
Okay, so it wasn't like a wildfire where all the houses burned down.
Nope.
It was just that house.
Yep.
Electrical short, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. No one was living there.
God, that was such a nice house.
It was a
too.
great house.
Had great
I mean, it's a
views.
great location. They're going to tear it down and build a new one that's going to be even better.
Good deal.
With their insurance money.
Like you do.
Not shady.
Nope.
Anyway,
Comic books.
comic books. Yeah, so...
Let's talk about a comic book.
Cade, you recommended us the all-new Ghost Rider.
I did.
Volumes
because
1 and 2?
It had been a book that had such critical success at the beginning,
Yeah.
and I guess it still did towards the end, but low readership.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a book that was piggybacking off of the success of Tradmore on the Luther Strode series, I think. That's why it had a lot of press because of that. So
Yeah, and it's... I don't know. I really liked it. I had never read it before, but I had wanted to, thanks to all the things, all the great press, especially on Top of the Stack. That
Yeah.
was actually what first got me interested in it.
Yeah, Mannix and I think, were both very excited about it when it started. But this is the first introduction of a new character, Robbie Reyes.
Yes,
So how'd you feel about Robbie?
I liked him. I thought this was a very positive take on the character.
Yeah.
Or for this version of the character. Minority characters are always nice if they have a bigger... Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Joe uses it all the time.
Representation is what I always think of, for sure, when it comes to characters like Robbie Reyes, for a lot of different reasons. One, because of Robbie himself, but Gabe, too, as a character
Yes.
who's handicapped, handy-capable.
Handy cute.
Yeah. He is an adorable
just
little brother.
I
You don't like him?
I kind of felt a little bit manipulated. Like, they worked so hard to just make him as, like, sweet and adorable as possible.
Yeah.
Especially at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I felt like they were working a little bit too hard at it.
I think that there's such touching moments in those early stuff, and it doesn't feel forced to me, you know? Like, I can believe it. I believe this is a relationship that a brother, and a younger brother and an older brother
I
have.
absolutely
Right.
believe the relationship. Like, the way that they relate to each other as brothers, like, feels very real to me.
Yeah.
But, like, Gabe's dialogue felt really kind of corny, like... He says exactly what he's like, yay, I'm happy.
Right.
Well, he's supposed to. He's developmentally disabled.
Yeah.
Well,
I
but
don't- I don't know if that's like the way that somebody who is actually developmentally disabled would speak or not. I mean, like, legitimately, I don't know. It didn't
it can.
feel very real to me, though.
I knew a kid with cerebral palsy who acted just like Gabe. In fact, I read Gabe's parts in his voice, actually. But no, the word I was looking for was agency.
Yes.
When minority characters are introduced in comics, oftentimes they don't have the correct agency. And I felt that Robbie Reyes did.
Yeah. Well, he has like very clear goals in mind that are
Yeah, and he has, like, right from the get-go, you can see what his motive is, and you can see that all his actions are going towards those motivations.
Yeah, he definitely has his own character arc within the arc of becoming Ghost Riders. Like, he has these things that he needs to get done.
Yeah. Well, it felt very real.
Yeah.
Just in the terms of what the society is like that he lives in and the challenges that he confronts on a day-to-day basis. Like, there
monsters
is
and
something, totally. There's something really compelling there, though, about the setting and about the situation that he's in. More so than I feel like, it's a plucky 20-something living in Manhattan,
right?
Who's secretly a superhero, and their girlfriend broke up with them. Oh no!
Yeah, and that's actually something I really respected. It was like, we have not seen this superhero origin story before. We've not seen this superhero before, and I like that.
Yeah, I think it's something that we see a bit of with Kamala Khan, where she is very invested in her family, and so she's not, this 20-something out on her own, doing her own thing. Doesn't have to answer to anybody, sort of a thing. But Robbie Reyes is more than just a part of a family. He's the only family that Gabe has. And he is the sole provider for Gabe. And when you have somebody who is developmentally disabled like that, they really need a lot of support, and I see it a lot with the adults that I work with. If their caretaker leaves, they are essentially helpless in a lot of ways. And so Robbie feels a lot of that weight, and then on top of that, it's almost like being the Ghost Rider is almost like an extra burden that he's straddled with, that he has to deal with and find a way to balance the need to protect and take care of Gabe. It's not an option. It's a very solid and prevalent need. It's his number one priority. The need to do well in school so that he can leave the awful neighborhood that they're in. And the need to also just be a person of his own on top of now being Ghost Rider.
Yeah, I would call them layers of personal conflict that Robbie has. This is like, he has the conflicts of like him as a provider for Gabe. Like, that brings about its own levels of complications, and like he has to go to school to get out of this neighborhood so that he can provide better. He also has to work this job late at night so that he can provide for Gabe, so that he has everything he needs. And then on top of that, like, he is still a character who wants to do the right thing. So he has the street racer mentality, like, where he has the street racing that he does on the side to earn more money. But, like, you see that that's a conflict within him because he doesn't want to break the law. He doesn't want to get dragged into that lifestyle, but it's like,
it's the path that's available to him.
Right, and he needs the money to take care of his family. And Gabe, likewise, is the only family that he has, too. So I think that kind of, like, in the first issue, I feel like they did a really good job of, like, sucking you into, like, what makes this character Robbie Reyes tick. And then I feel like in the subsequent issues, they do a really great job of pitting the conflict of the spirit of vengeance versus Robbie Reyes. And that continues through, like, the next 10 issues, I feel like. And part of me really, I've never really read a lot of Ghost Rider, so part of me really liked that aspect of it, that it was like he doesn't just put on a mask and is not just like, and now I'm the spirit of vengeance. It's like the spirit of vengeance lives inside of him.
Right. I thought that one moment that I really did like with him and his brother was in the very first issue where Gabe was like, "Oh, firecrackers again." And he's like, "You remember when you hear firecrackers, we don't go outside." And it's like kind of this like silly, touching brother moment because he's making it fun for his younger brother.
Right.
But you're like, oh my God, there's something incredibly deadly serious behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
do
somebody's
not go
getting
outside.
shot right now.
Yeah.
So
You
yeah,
gotta
like,
find
it
shoes
was
hanging
really
over
interesting.
the telephone wires.
Yeah.
It was really interesting on that emotional level, and especially as the series went on, you learned more about Eli, the fact that he's Robbie's uncle, that he was the one who was responsible for making Gabe messed up. Like, he's in some way involved in the death of their parents. Like, he has this awful Satanist murderer uncle who is now a part of him. That he has to deal with on top of that. Like, it makes for a really interesting concept of a character.
And I like that they don't explore too much in the first 12 issues, because it already felt fairly crowded to me. Like, there's a lot of stuff that happens in those first 12 issues internally with the conflict that I'm glad they also didn't pile on top of that. And this is what happened to your family, and this is all, like, they didn't explain everything. That's why I like at the end of 12 issues where it's like not the end, you know, like we know that Robbie Reyes as Ghost Rider will be back in some form, and so like those
has that at this point been confirmed?
Yes. Yeah.
So he'll show up post Secret War.
Yeah, Axel Alonso and Felipe Smith both independently have come out and said, like, Robbie Reyes as Ghost Rider is the modern Ghost Rider.
I wonder if they're going to keep the other ones around post.
Well, we had
I don't know. We have Johnny
Blaze show up.
Yeah.
And I think
no,
it was kind of
serious.
cool for him to go like, yeah, you're a Ghost Rider. Like, you're not the same as me, but you're one of us now.
Right.
And he's like, bye.
So, worthy to mention, too, is back in the... not long after Matt Fraction and Brubaker added the legacy to the Iron Fist character, I think it was Jason Aaron added a very similar legacy to the Ghost Rider character, that, like, the original Ghost Rider that appeared was on a horse and, like, in the Wild Wild West. He was like a actual Wild West comic published way back in the day by Marvel Comics. And they've done stuff like Ennis did Trail of Tears, the Ghost Rider series about that Ghost Rider. But I think it was illustrated by Tony Moore, and they did one that showed like Ghost Riders through the era. So there was like the Smokey and the Bandit Ghost Rider, and like the 60s,
like the 70s Mack truck Ghost Rider.
Yeah, and they did all of that. So like it was a good way for them to explain why they already had two Ghost Riders with Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch, and being like, look, there have always been Ghost Riders, there always will be Ghost Riders. And so I like that this tapped into a little bit of what that started to set up, and I hope it's something that they continue.
Well, and it creates an environment where if you feel like you've got a story where Johnny Blaze is the best fit, or Danny Ketch is the best fit, or Reyes is the best fit, you can kind of switch between them, and then you can kind of sustain the modern solo comic with the new character.
Right, and I think that legacy like helps add another level to the Marvel universe.
One of the, I think, the most misfounded things that DC did with their new 52 reboot was go, no, we have to have the iconic versions of these characters. Like,
right.
Barbara Gordon is the Batgirl.
Right.
Bruce Wayne is the Batman. Like,
when the legacy building was actually what made their universe unique in the first place.
Absolutely.
And I like the fact that Marvel seems very prepared to go like, yeah, there's this guy over here and he's Thor, but then there's also this woman over here and she is also Thor.
Right.
See these 37 people? They're all Spider-Men's.
Yeah,
Well,
it's like we can have a ton of Spider-Man characters. We can have Ghost Riders.
we now-
can use the character that's most appropriate to the story we want to tell.
Although they did walk back all the Hulks. That was sad.
Sort of.
Yeah, I know,
We
sort of.
now have, in Secret Wars, we have like a Thor core of like
Planet
40
Hulks.
the Thors. We have like a whole city of Hulks. We have the Spider-Verse characters are all coming back too. So like, there's definitely Marvel's playing with their multiverse right now, but they even in a minor sense have started to add legacy to a lot of their characters with Ghost Rider, with Iron Fist, with Captain America having 3 iterations.
Spider-Woman.
Spider-Woman, there's been 3 Spider-Women, and like, so it's something Marvel's definitely started to emulate. I think DC's kind of with that, and it was the most disappointing to me at DC was when they did Justice League 3000, and they were not only is this the Justice League of right now, but like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, that is the Justice League of the future too. Like there will never be a change. And it was like
that really.
But that was what was cool about DC was that like the Justice League did change and did have like a fuck ton of members.
Like there was a past, a present, and a future.
Yeah. So,
Anyway,
I think that's what's cool about that. It's Johnny Blaze, right, that shows up?
Yeah.
I think that's what's cool about that moment in there. But I don't know, Brant, I know you didn't enjoy this as much.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed. But not, it's hard because Miss Marvel was so good.
Yeah.
About creating a new paradigm and pacing and all these things. So it's hard because this book's been talked about with a similar level of but not necessarily the same. And the first 6 issues I really enjoyed.
Yeah. I
felt like the second 6, you're right, you were making a comment about it being busy, and I think it was busy in some ways and not in others. To bounce, to have Hyde be the main character, the main villain in the first arc, and then to turn around and basically use him again.
Yeah.
Felt like a really strange...
Yeah.
On one hand, I'm like, okay, are you trying to really set him up as a primary nemesis for this character? But still to do it, basically have 1 year of him basically fighting against that one guy and his things felt like a little too much.
And I wonder if there was some element of crossover with the TV show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because in the last couple of seasons, Mr. Hyde has been a main antagonist on that show. And I wonder if on some level they were like, hey, can somebody put him as the main antagonist of a comic? Oh, we can put him in Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
But even to do that for an entire year seems like
I agree with Brant on that. It's I really liked that first arc, and then when the second arc started, I was very excited for a new direction, and then some of it felt
and of course some of it gets disrupted because the art shifts, and I always find that kind of problematic. Although it didn't find it problematic in Miss Marvel, right? I really thought that it carried the tonal shift well. In this, I was just kind of
well, the last 3 issues of the series were done by Felipe.
Yes.
And I really wish that he had taken over after Chad left, because I feel like that would have been an easier transition.
And see, I kind of have a hard time with Tradmore's art. It's difficult for me to look at on a certain level because there's it's very exaggerated.
Yeah.
But I think that he was the strongest of the 3 artists who worked on this by a pretty significant margin.
He is a legitimate genius of art.
Right. And after he left, I found myself really, really missing him.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I don't want to... Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so with his art, I appreciate it for what it was, but I really don't like Dragon Ball Z. And to me, it just looked like Dragon Ball Z. And so I was just Man,
Toriyama is rolling over in his he's not dead yet grave, but he's
not dead yet
he's spit taking his sake or miso depending on what he may be eating.
He's comically sneezing because somebody mentioned his name.
That's right.
But yeah, so I it was hard to look at, but I could follow what was going on. Except for in there were 1 or 2 panels where it was really hard to tell what was going on, including there's a full page spread where Mr. Hyde rips Grumpy in 2, and it took me a while to realize he was ripped in 2. So why are his legs there and his body's over there? Oh.
Yeah.
And it took a minute because it doesn't really make, because there's
there's so much happening.
So much happening. There's pills falling everywhere. There's blood everywhere, and you're just there's a giant smear of red, and this person's in a weird position.
That said, though, in issue 6, where the last few pages where they're really having their big fight, and there's a couple of long. I'm trying to describe this so that people who are listening can imagine it if they can't see it. But basically, it's 2-page splashes, but they're paneled still. So they're wide rows of panel, and there's a second one in that splash where it's multiple. It's basically almost like a stickman figure, but it's 3 or 4 kind of flashes of Ghost Rider whipping the chain around and coming off the car, doing something to somebody, then doing something to somebody else. But it's not. It's one long road panel, but it's not broken up any other way.
They're ghosted images.
Yeah, kind of.
Like
it
what
looks
they used to do
so
with the Flash.
Dynamic and so cool, and then it ends on a full-page splash of him basically triumphant, I am the Ghost Rider. And I had really... I recognize that his art is really great. In some ways, I wasn't super wowed by it until those last 2 or 3 pages. I was like, holy shit, that is sweet.
Yeah, it's one of those things where something in your brain switches.
Yeah.
And then he leaves.
Yeah, and then he leaves. And with all due respect to Damion Scott, like, I had a very hard time following what was going on in all these panels.
I've said
it was incredibly busy.
I've said a lot of times that, like, if you're going to switch artists from an extremely distinct artist, like someone like Scotty Young or Trad Moore or something, like, I feel like the further away you get from it, the better the transition is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I felt like it was almost too close, but it wasn't at the level.
Right,
that Trad was
enough to make you feel like it's consistent, but
right?
It was far enough to jar.
Yeah, it just like it was too close.
Yeah,
there's a rule in editing where like you don't cut to a shot that is like within a certain percentage zoom or a certain percentage like off tilt because it just like looks too similar. Like you can notice the cut. Where if you go to an even like more abrupt shift, the cut is less noticeable. So it feels like that in comics where it's like because you turn the page and it's like close but not quite, you really feel this shift. I will also say though, I love Trad Moore's art, and I think this is not nearly as good as his art in Luther Strode. Well, he's only done one other comic before this. Right. He's like 23, and he did the Luther Strode, the first 2 Luther Strode books, and then he did this, and now I think it's Legacy is the third one. The Legacy of Luther Strode has just started coming out, and the art in the first issue alone is just like absolutely mind-blowing. Like you can tell that's the book he like pours his heart and soul into,
right?
Because it's his creator own. He's the co-creator on that book, so like it should be. But yeah, I mean, I totally get what Kayleigh is saying about the Dragon Ball Z, though. Like, if I had to describe his art with one word, it would be exaggerated.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that
like,
was
it
the
is
word that I used, yeah.
Super muscly. It's super, like, guys have, like, 82 riblets, and, like, there's, like, no, it's so out there.
And it feels almost Gumby-esque.
Everything is so stretchy and, like, pliable. Yeah.
The thing that bothered me the most, actually, were their lips. Like, they're just gross to me. I don't like them.
Didn't you also not like Ultron's lips?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you just have, like, a thing with
Yeah, do lips right. That's not hard.
Do them right. Just do them right.
Do them right.
I did not notice the lips. I'll go back and look again.
There's a couple of panels where, like, after somebody gets punched and their lip is, like, drooping down because it's so exaggerated. And then they're, like, also, like, drooling and dripping blood. You're just like, that's disgusting. Like, that's just gross. That's not even cool, like, gory disgusting. That's just gross.
I don't know. That depends, I guess, on where you're sitting and how you look at it. Because some of those shots, it got the 13-year-old in me.
Yeah, they're
where it was like
pretty gross monster.
Well, that's why. I mean, if you like that, like over the top, extreme 13-year-old sweet art action, like Luther Strode is that just to the fucking extreme.
Some of this actually reminded me of Spawn, and it reminded me of the Spawn I read when I was 13, and not the Spawn that I read now. Because I look at it very differently than I used to, because I was fucking 13.
Yeah.
And I loved that shit back then. And
one of the things that I actually really loved about the way that Moore drew this was all of the light lines that come off of everything. Like when he's driving his car and it's
brake
leaving
lights.
the brake light trails, like something out of Akira. Or I'm holding up a panel with Dr. Zabo, where the light is reflecting off his glasses, and there's
like these evil anime scientist style,
enormous fucking lens flare.
Yeah.
Like light glows coming off of everywhere and going in every direction.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear to me that Trad was influenced by manga and anime, and so to me it works because I also probably read a lot of the same stuff that he did.
Some 90s Image.
I also super loved the graffiti in the background, like the super I'm not even sure how you would describe it, but geometric. Cyclops was right.
Yeah.
Graffiti on a random wall in issue 3.
They started putting that into Marvel books as like an homage to what Grant Morrison did with fucking Quentin Quire.
Yeah, Magneto was right.
The Magneto was right shirts, yeah. So.
Yeah. I thought it was super cool.
I really like those.
It made it feel like another world.
Well, yeah, I like it when anytime this isn't super connected to the rest of the Marvel universe, like in the same way that Miss Marvel isn't, but it feels like it lives in that world. Right. Like Miss Marvel did a really great job of kind of emphasizing what it would be like to be a 14-year-old girl in the Marvel universe, where you play Marvel video games. They did that in Runaways too, where they play Marvel video games. They talk about Marvel superheroes. They are fans of these people.
Are celebrities.
Yeah, exactly. And so this did a really good job of making me feel like it was a part of the same world. But Robbie is a 18-year-old who has to kind of live a very different life than Kamala Khan. So it didn't feel the same, but they still felt like they fit.
Yeah,
in the universe.
Yeah, and I loved Gabe playing with the Avengers toys.
Yeah, that kind
and
of
reading
stuff.
the comic books.
Yeah,
because everybody knows that the Marvel comics exist inside the Marvel universe.
Yep.
Because Captain America used to illustrate for them, or he applied to illustrate for them at one point.
Yeah.
So one of my whole things with this is that I felt like, even if I'm not as in love with Tradmore's art in the first arc, I felt like it still kind of walked this very interesting line between almost being cartoony and violent, but also having those poignant emotional moments, and really balancing all of that very well in kind of that 6 different directions. It's like a waitress or a waiter having to hold a really big platter with a bunch of teeter-tottering shit on it. And so I was really impressed by that, and I felt like that's where I lost a lot of the cohesion into the second arc, was that it was overly there was so for me it's okay, so Eli can take over his body. That's actually kind of fun, and that's a good kryptonite thing. But and then of course, but it's and then he abandons the brother on the floor to not understand what's happening and to run for himself. And Eli's a Satanist, and he's a it's just it felt and he's the reason that it's all messed up. And it's kind of I feel like sometimes you get that level of kind of interconnectedness, but it takes years to get that right. When you get to the point where it's turns out that Joker was on the same street as the guy who shot Batman, and they may have known each other in high school, and it may have been this thing that shit that kind of gets layered on after year after year after year. A big one for me is the kind of increasingly complex relationship between Dr. Octopus and Peter Parker. At this point, he's been out with Aunt May, he's been in his fucking body, but that all comes out over time. And so within a 6 to 8 issue arc to be okay, there's this, turns out that demon can control you, and he's an asshole, and he's a demon worshiper, and he's related to you, and I felt like I could have had them step back.
And he's the reason Gabe is disabled.
Right, and he's the reason that Gabe is disabled. It's come on.
Yeah, it's too much too soon.
My mom used to my mom's favorite movie to talk about this phenomenon is The Patriot with Mel Gibson, where it's he's one man against the revolutionary, in the revolution, and his wife has been killed, and his son has been killed, and they kicked his dog, and he doesn't like them, and they look nasty. It's just how many fucking things can you tie on a person to make them quote unquote epic?
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of man, you could have left it with that juggling act and really played out this other stuff over time. Issue 24, and it turns out Eli's actually your uncle. And then another 12 issues later, turns out he's actually responsible for your brother. And that, I felt like a lot of that was just kind of come on. And that with the Mr. Hyde thing, where it's just come on, guys.
Question, I guess, that I have for the panel. Do you think we'll ever see storytelling like that again, with the way that Marvel and DC are moving towards more and more short-lived series? Felipe, I'm sure Felipe knew he only had 12 issues on this because I think that's what it was announced at.
Sure.
And we're seeing short series, we're seeing reboots every so often, we're seeing new creative teams put on projects. Do we even know that Felipe will ever get to write Robbie Reyes again?
I guess that's the question.
Well, he's writing him currently. Ghost Racer.
Well, yeah, he will be. It's not out yet, is it?
Oh,
not yet.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, so
it's going to be a Secret Wars.
So I guess
title.
I guess that's a good question, and I it's these companies.
Well, the plots for the first 3 issues of it are already out online.
Okay.
So it's
because I agree with you.
We've talked a little bit about I think it's been mentioned on the show before, but and I don't think I'm no, I'm definitely not airing anything that I shouldn't be airing, but like friend of the show, Eric Troutman, talks about like the creation of story Bibles, both in comics and in other properties to kind of establish baseline facts about characters. And I know that there has been at least X-Men editors, if not others, who have talked about like I think Chris Claremont was actually responsible at one point for drafting a document upon which many of those characters that he dealt with for so long, like had fundamental facts about them were cataloged, not just like the comics, but like there were actually like reference documents for it. And so I feel like I don't know, you look at these other series, like I certainly don't get the impression reading Miss Marvel that there's a rush to add things. I don't get the impression reading even fractions like Hawkeye or things like that there's this overwhelming rush to cram every piece of information in there, that either there's enough trust with the editorship or there's some process to basically be like, there are other seeds that I'm hoping you'll consider or add. And maybe part of it was that basically because Ghost Rider is not as tightly managed as a property as those other tentpole
it doesn't books. I mean, it's not like Ghost Rider as a line editor.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe it was exactly the case that he was just kind of like, well, I've only got this shot, I might as well kind of set as much of the base of it as I could. But I think what's kind of surprising to me, I guess, is that I felt like he did such a good job of adding all of these elements in the first 6 that part of it was that he could have added all those other things in the last 8, but it was just the way that it happened. I felt like it was just like...
I also felt like there was like...
so fast.
It seemed like he was a little compelled to complete the arc, too.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like it was okay on a certain level because the context for all of this information coming out is... Eli is trying to piss Robbie off. He's trying to make him as angry as he can and just keep piling on thing after thing after thing, because the angrier that Robbie gets, the less control he has and the more that Eli can take over his body. And he's making a big play to take over his body so he can go and get revenge, because that's the one thing that he wants.
Right. I recognize that there's a...
But I'm sorry. With the last panel or the last page... where it's Robbie and Eli kind of back to back, all ghostly like in the sky. I feel like they were setting up this idea of this ongoing struggle between them,
right? Like an evil,
like they're parallel,
right? Well, like it's like an evil version of the Professor and Firestorm, like, or the new Firestorm, where it was the two guys, Ronnie Raymond and
the parallels with Dr. Zabu and Mr. Hyde,
right?
Like there's a lot of duelist,
and that's not lost on me.
And so I feel like they were really going for this idea of like, we need to put all the stakes on the table.
Well, but clearly Robbie Reyes is fleshed out enough as a character that he has values, he has interests. There are ways that they could create that dualism without having to make it such like kind of a farce as far as why this, like the level of specific tension between those two entities.
Well, I think that they're illustrating how hard it is for him to keep himself under control, because he hates this guy so much on such a personal level, and he's bound to him all the time. Like, I feel like it adds a dimension to their relationship that would be absent otherwise.
I feel like even if you had just done the parts where Eli had possessed him and done some of the shit that he'd done, that would be enough to be like, dude, what the fuck is your problem? Like, I mean, I know that not all of the traditional Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider is the greatest writing in the world, but they don't have a personal connection, and there's that tension between them constantly, where Zarathos is like, come on, Johnny, like, let me fucking ride, man, like, I'm gonna, like, burn this shit down, and he's like, you're gonna ratchet that back a little bit, buddy. Like, I feel like you could have set that stage and not made it so, like, it's like, this time it's Ghost Rider and this time it's personal. It's like, all right, I get it. That's overall. And like, that's and I think one of the reasons that I don't want to be as critical about it is there are so much of the setup and the kind of connecting tissue of this entity. Like, I love the design of the character. Like, he's in that like racing uniform. He's got this kind of articulated, it's like a helmet, but it's like a mat, it's like a ghost face, or the flaming skull face, kind of like, like it has all these things that I'm just like, there's so much that's right about
the car.
Yeah, the car is fucking sweet. And I love like the thing where he's like, like the car like passes through him and he ends up in the driver's seat and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, so that, like, there's so much about that design work and that passion. And,
that would absolutely.
So it's like,
when he like comes out of the top of the car and stuff during the car chases. I mean, like, I think that the character design is really well well thought out.
And I think I'd add to that the conceptualization around a new Ghost Rider with new powers, like him tossing his brother into the trunk and him showing up somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's sweet. And even Eli kind of being the car.
Yeah. So there's a lot of elements to it. I think I'm kind of somewhere in between you and Toby on this, where it's like, I do feel like it was a lot of information that was laid down, but at the same time, I feel like it's relevant information, and it's information that other writers are going to be able to come back and work on later. So, like,
okay, so
too much, not enough. Like, I'm not sure, but I like what they did.
I looked up the publication solicitations for the Ghost Racers, and so it comes out starting June 10th, and Felipe Smith's going to have the character at least till October.
Yeah.
So it could be that he's trying to set a bunch of stuff up so that they hire him back to finish it, or something. But
I mean, that's kind of hard to know.
But I mean, and I guess my argument was not that we know that now, but that, like, when he started writing, when he plotted 12 issues, did he know that he was ever going to be able to touch this character?
Right, absolutely.
And so I have to imagine he was like, well, I have these ideas, I want to get them down, and I don't know that anybody else will like respect this, even if I left it in like a story Bible somewhere.
Sure, absolutely. And I can understand that motive. Like I said, I think there was that combination of just, I was so impressed by the balancing act in the first 6 that it just all felt a little.
Yeah.
The more I think about it, the more I'm convinced that even if the villain offset stuff with Hyde was not as much of a priority, if it was a different character, or if maybe there was, that space was basically nixed. Like, the guy from high school's now also Hyde. Okay, you know what? Let's just leave that guy as the Flash Thompson of the series for a while and devote even more space to developing this concept of Eli as a kind of a proto-antagonist, and Bennett, because he's both the power source and the kryptonite in this weird way, which I think is great. But it was like, why am I reading about Hyde again? Great. There's more guys on blue pills. They're really big and strong.
You were trying to say something, Cade?
Did I cut you off?
I don't remember.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Well, never mind.
If I did cut you off, I'm sorry.
There was one thing that I actually did have a bigger problem with, and it's a silly thing. The Blue Crew has a lot of, like, lettered T-shirts with blue tactical vests, blue camo pants, blue berets. Like, where the fuck are they getting all this shit? Is Dr. Zabo just ordering this shit in bulk?
It's LA, man. Yeah. You can get anything in LA.
Yeah.
It just seemed weird to me that
Sportsman's Warehouse.
He had like,
there's like
60
shops
of these
throughout
things,
LA, right?
like out of nowhere, like all exactly the same.
What you don't know.
It's definitely a reference to, like, obviously gang colors, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're the blue clear. It's like Crips and Bloods type stuff. So them wearing all blue is not really that surprising.
Right.
The fact that they would also want their tack vests to match their blue outfits, like, I don't feel like that's too much to ask.
It's more I think Toby's asking about the actual logistics of
but it is expensive.
Well,
blue tack, I feel like you can get that online. I mean, the internet exists in this world.
Yeah, it just seems weird to me that he like got all of this, like all of these uniforms. He's like, so I'm building an evil army so that I can take over the gangs of Los Angeles. First thing I have to do is order matching outfits.
Maybe they got the outfits.
Actually, what I was thinking about,
maybe they showed up with their own outfits.
Back when he still has the paramilitary guys in the first arc, he's like, pink pills, pink pills, pink pills. But then he's like, now it's time for something blue. I think he's already focused on blue, and he's got somewhere stashed in a bunch of military-grade crates all this blue shit, because he's like, one day, whether it's these fucking mercenary guys or a bunch of street thugs, I'm going to dress some motherfuckers up in blue gear.
Well, I was wondering about it, because, I mean, you can dye pills whatever color you want when you're manufacturing them. I imagine that he got this stuff really cheap. And he's like, okay, the next batch I have to make blue to match all these fucking all this tactical gear that I have. Damn it! It's just gonna sit in storage otherwise.
It's like, the blue tag sale at Goodwill.
Remember he murders the one squad leader guy? We think it's because he fucked up the mission. It's actually because he screwed up the logistics order, and he's like opening crates and it's all blue, and he's like, come into my office for a minute. I'm gonna fucking eat you. And I guess I'm gonna change shit to blue now because
I guarantee you, somewhere in the annals of supervillain history, there was some guy who ordered way too many cases of the wrong stuff And he's like, okay, we have to invent a new supervillain organization so that I can use all of these costumes because
it's the Guild of Calamitous Intent, man.
Yeah.
They got all that shit already for you. They'll pick out a name for your crew. They'll like supply all your henchmen.
AIM's a Hydra offshoot, right?
Yeah.
Makes you wonder.
It's like,
who the fuck ordered beekeeper outfits? All right, Jeff, we're starting a new goddamn group.
That's what I'm saying.
Get that MODOK guy. He had some good ideas.
He was angry.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love that kind of behind the scenes stuff. It seems like we talk about that a lot, but I think it's...
Well, that's because I keep bringing it up.
I think it's because I love Venture Brothers that I'm like always excited by that possibility.
Well, and to get back to the thing, like that is silly on one hand, but I did like that other layer of authenticity to this, right? Like this is something that I think that Marvel's been doing really well and has been showing different flavors of New York, and then actually showing places that feel like they're not New York,
like New Jersey,
right? Like New Jersey. But this feels like, I mean, even if it's like a pop culture sense of LA, it feels like LA,
graffiti, driving, gangs.
That's right. Well, I mean, quite frankly,
did anyone go to an In-N-Out?
No. Well, we never know.
I mean, I feel like that would have made it very LA.
Yeah. Note to whoever does Ghost Racers or whatever else, put In-N-Out signs.
Some In-N-Out. They should go to Pink's and get a hot dog.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like it had a different feel to it.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that. Like I feel like it wasn't just like it's a Latino guy, but he's still in that like upper white bread area of Brooklyn. Like it's like no, like this is more of a.
I was actually trying to figure out what part of LA he was in. Because I think they mentioned at one time East Los Angeles, and so
there's a few different splats, like scene splats, where it has like east wherever or west whatever.
Well, yeah, but like even East Los Angeles can be broken down, and
I felt like he had like road names.
Oh, okay.
Well, so Hill Rock Heights, East Los Angeles,
which Hill Rock Heights is not an actual place.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not, but I'm sure it's a stand-in for some.
And that's what I was trying to figure out. And I'm thinking it was Chino.
Yeah,
but I'm not entirely sure.
LA listeners, let us know.
That's right.
Question of the week.
Joe when we need him.
Question of the week: where is Joe? Joe grew up outside of LA.
I know,
and hates LA. We would have a 42-minute conversation
about how much he loves Arizona.
Fucking awful LA is.
I'm from.
I'd have to edit out.
I'm from West Covina, Los Angeles. So.
So question of the week: if you're from LA, where do you think all these places are?
That's right. Where do you think Hill Rock Heights is?
Yeah, Pixar didn't happen, and I would recommend to anyone if they liked the first 6 issues art that Tradmore's creator-owned stuff on Luther Strode is absolutely outstanding. I'm a little disappointed Kayleigh didn't like the art that much because I want to recommend that to you because Petra, the lady in Luther Strode, is like one of my absolute favorite characters ever. So I feel like you would dig her.
I don't think that the art is bad. I can see the skill that goes in it. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, and the grossness, like that's all like to the max in Luther Strode. Like there's a whole scene where he's just like breaking guys' arms in half, and like all of the parts that you were like, I'm not so much of a fan of. I was like, damn it, that's all Luther Strode is. It's just lips and arms breaking.
Come on, somebody's got to change their rec.
I do actually want to talk just quick note. The design of Gabe's like hellhound that he turns into when he is possessed by Eli
Ninja Dog
is so cool.
Yeah,
that is awesome. Like just the way that they used his braces as like these metal bladed arms, and like he had like smaller back legs, and he had it's just cool.
It was really awesome. Gnarly.
I actually the moment. That splash page where he jumps out the window and he's falling and he's just like smiling this ridiculous, insane smile. Like that actually creeped me out.
Oh yeah. Well, I remember
it was supposed to.
Yeah, that was the end of an issue.
Yeah.
So I remember waiting a month to go. But I wonder what happened.
Did Gabe splat?
Yeah. Like what? Really? They're gonna just introduce this really cool character that I like, and then they're gonna kill him right away? Like you can't do that to Robbie. So I was nervous. So, that's the one thing about reading comics month to month that I just absolutely hate. Waiting.
Yep.
But yeah, that scene really creeped me out too. And the Hellhound dog design, like, ugh. I mean, I love it, but it is like I don't like it. It's terrifying.
Also, actually, one of the worst scenes for me to read is when the homeless guy has a bag of pills and his dog gets into them, and then he has to shoot his dog, and they're like dying together.
That was a little awful.
Oh my god. I almost started crying.
Yeah.
This is like, that's terrible. Why did you do... Of all the things that you could have done to any of the characters, you had to kill the fucking dog? Like, why?
Because it's an easy way to get to your emotions.
Yeah.
God, it was awful.
Yeah. Anything else you guys wanted to talk about the series?
I feel pretty good about this. It's cool. An interesting series. I kind of wish it had continued.
Yeah, me too.
But I'm excited to see in the future where they go with him.
Yeah, I would have liked Chad more to be on it.
Yeah, I wish he had done all 12, but I'm glad he didn't do it, because just for the fact because now he's doing Legend of Luther Strode, which was already delayed to make room for this series.
But I feel like it's a cool enough character that somebody is going to want to do something with him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I certainly don't feel like the thing that I have been impressed with, whether they're named exactly as the legacy characters they're attached to or something slightly different, is that I feel like Marvel and the creators they've had working for them lately have done a really good job of introducing new characters and feeling like they are worth keeping around, right? Because, I mean, if you really go back and look at through comics, like sometimes people talk about like, oh, there hasn't been new characters in a long time. It's like, oh, there's plenty of new characters. They all just suck.
Right.
You know, like...
Gravity!
Like, well, I mean, Gravity was okay, but he wasn't great, and he just didn't really have a place or a great voice.
Well, that's the thing, is that narrative universes get full up. Like, you have a character who fills a niche, and then you go, why would we make a new character when we already have a character that does exactly that thing?
Well, and I think one of the things that maybe is happening now in Marvel is understanding that you can still have two people who have similar identities or similar characteristics, but there's still a gulf of difference between what their experiences might be like. Which is why you can afford to have 4 spider persons running around Manhattan and they still have completely different, but sometimes overlapping experiences. And I think that's what's great about this new Ghost Rider, is that I feel like he's got some tensions that are exactly the same as every Ghost Rider before him, but he certainly has a series of things that are worth exploring.
Well, yeah, I mean, he has a different experience, even though he's experiencing a lot of the same conflicts that Ghost Riders do experience.
Right.
On top of that, he also has all of the Robbie Reyes conflicts that they didn't have to deal with. They had other conflicts, right?
Like Mr. Hyde just being a pain in the ass.
I don't understand why we can't have a team up with Jaime Reyes.
Because we're not doing Marvel and DC anymore.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Actually, what I was thinking is that I think this Ghost Rider would be awesome to do a team up with the Punisher.
Yeah. Well, they're both in LA too, or like West Coast.
That would be incredibly fucked up.
Yeah,
because if the whole thing is that Eli's basically like, I'll point you in the direction of motherfuckers to kill, and Punisher's like, I'm finding motherfuckers to kill. You'd be like, what's up with you? What's up with you? I want to kill people. I want to kill people too.
Yeah.
Only fucked up people. Yeah, me too. All right, let's fucking team up. You stare the shit out of them and whip their heads, and I'll blow their brains out. Sweet.
Yeah.
It's a new Secret Defenders.
Yeah,
right.
I would love to see that. I also would love to see this Ghost Rider as like a new Midnight Suns, like a relaunch of the Midnight Suns in some way.
All I can think of right now is I want to see a fucking Punisher standing on the roof of
the car
with a minigun, mowing fuckers down.
I want to see this character be more fully folded into the Marvel universe for sure. So,
have you guys heard of the Secret Wars Secret Romance that's coming out?
Yes.
What is that?
Robbie Reyes and Kamala Khan.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's gonna be super sweet.
They'll have flaming bendy babies.
Well, we are only tangentially on the subject, but I'm not gonna spoil it. If you have not read the latest issue of Loki, Agent of Asgard, oh my god, the last page is so ridiculously awesome. So awesome. I'm not gonna spoil it, but it's tangentially related. What's that?
21? Is that what it was?
I have to look it up.
Because they might not know what week this came out if they're listening to it in the future.
Just cross-reference what week this episode came out. Go back to the previous week.
It's the one that's like countdown to Secret Wars on it, and it's like the final days.
It's number 14.
14. Wow, that's way off.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, 21.
14.
Age of Asgard,
Whatever.
issue 14, the last page. It's Odin and Freya, and it's super cool.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, sir.
So, do we want to move on to recommendations?
Yes.
I would like to go first, if that's cool.
Actually, I was going to suggest that somebody else go first, because I feel like Chard has been getting the last vote too much.
I always get
And
the
we should,
last vote.
yeah, we should switch it up. You don't have to break ties anymore.
Okay. Who's going to break the tie?
No one will
we don't
re-vote.
have to.
It's our
because
new
we
that's
just
right,
have that
yeah.
new voting system.
Right.
So Cade can pitch first, and Brant will get the last vote.
All right. I'm fine with that.
So Cade's pitching first.
So
Yes.
Cade,
Okay.
what would you like to recommend?
Right. So I had a recommendation in place, and then while we were talking about this episode, I changed my recommendation, and then I changed it again, and now I can't really decide what to do. But I'm hoping that by telling you guys what ones I changed it to, one of you guys will pitch the other. Okay, so we were talking about the villains behind the scenes stuff.
Mm.
And I really want to finish talking about Superior Foes of Spider-Man, because we never went back for the last volume.
Yeah, how much of that did we read?
We
I think
read
the first 6 issues, 6 or 7.
we read
Really?
the first 2, I thought. The first
trades?
2 trades, which was
Okay.
1 through 11.
Yeah, but there's like 30.
There's 17. It was canceled last November.
Superior Foes. I'm sorry. I
Superior
was thinking
Foes
about
of Spider-Man.
Superior Spider-Man.
No.
Yes. Yes. It
Superior
was.
Foes of
Yes.
Spider-Man, which has 17 issues, 3 trades. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We read the first 2 trades. It's about like behind the scenes of the supervillain network.
We may have only
Trying to-
read the first one, even. Now I'm thinking about it. Anyway, sorry. Keep going, kid.
Well, the second trade has the heist in it.
Yeah, we
which-
read 1 through 6.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Okay, so then 2 trades that we haven't
Yeah.
read before. But we always talk about how we need to come back to ones we've talked about before, but we're never
Yeah.
finished. And so, yeah, Superior Foes of Spider-Man.
Sweet. A lot of those threads have been picked up in Ant-Man
Yeah.
with the Grizzly and
Yeah, some of them.
that sort of humor.
It's a pretty good book so far.
Yeah, so
It's only been like 3 or 4 issues.
yeah, something like that. 4, yeah.
So then I was hoping one of you guys would pitch Luther Strode, because that's what I want to vote
So
for.
I'm waiting to pitch Luther when we can do all 3
Okay.
because
And
That's
I'm
Legacy.
fine.
that's
because
the end.
I could not do another Tradmore book right in a row.
Yeah.
Like, I like his art, but it frustrates me.
So the Legend of Luther Strode, the first issue has come out so far. I'm waiting until it's done, and I'm going to pitch all 3. So
Okay.
So your pitch is Superior Foes
Superior
of
Foes of Spider-Man. All 3 trades.
7 through 17.
Well, on the assumption that some people who are going to show up have not read the first 6,
Sure.
we're
Yeah.
going to read 1 through 17.
cool.
Okay.
Because
Cool.
I know Kayleigh wasn't with us back then. Brant wasn't on the show. So,
That was episode 48.
Was it really?
Yeah.
yeah.
Jesus.
I pulled it up.
It was one of the first ones we did in this studio.
Man, we've been doing this a long time.
Yeah. It's creepy. Like, there are books where I'm like, I'll pitch that. And then we already did it like 2 years ago.
There's books where I'm like, oh yeah, we didn't do that long ago, and it's like episode 20, and I'm like, what the fuck?
No,
There's
it-
ones where I'm like, we didn't do it that long ago. And it's like episode 70 something. And I'm like, wow, that was like 40 episodes ago.
It
Yeah.
was actually kind of scary. A few months ago, I was talking to Joe, and I'm like, I need to pitch Supergirl again, because it's one of my favorite books, and I always bring it, and nobody votes for
Yeah.
it. And I'm like, we really need to talk about it, so I'm going to bring it again. And Joe was like, you brought that a few weeks ago, so don't bring it this time. And I'm like, I think it was longer than that, and it had been 40 episodes since I brought it.
Proving that Joe has no concept of time.
He has no concept
Which
of time.
We did know that already.
yeah, that is
but-
a proven fact.
So, Kayleigh, what would you like to recommend this week?
I am going to bring back something I've pitched before, but I really, 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 really want to talk about.
Captain Marvel.
I was just about to say
Captain
that.
Marvel, Part 2. No, actually, Pretty Deadly by Kelly Sue DeConnick and Emma Rios, who did the writing and some of the art for
Nice.
Captain Marvel. But it's an excellent Western, and it's a fantastic character. It has everything I love, which is it's set in a very spaghetti western-esque universe. It has a lot of folklore. It has a lot of
some like fantasy elements.
Yeah, it has a lot of fantasy. It has a lot of mythos involved. It's just great. The characters are awesome, and they're very otherworldly, and I really enjoy it.
And is this one volume?
Yes. I don't think the second volume is out yet.
Okay.
It might be.
So volume 1 and or 2.
Yeah. Volume 1, and if volume 2 is out, sure.
Okay.
Cool.
Very cool. Toby.
So I was looking around at what to pitch, and I was going through my email, and I realized that a fan had recommended a book to us, and I was like, oh yeah, sounds cool, I'll look into it. And then I never looked into it because I'm terrible. So I looked into it. And I'm going to pitch a book that was recommended to us by Ali Jaffrey, who made those awesome prints for us that we posted about on the Facebook page a while back. I read, there's 6 issues, but they're like double-sized issues, so there's 12 issues worth of material. And this is a adaptation or a translation of a French comic book called Universal War 1 by Dennis Bajram, or Bahram, one of those. And what this is, it's like 100 years in the future. This is a science fiction comic book. And humanity has started to colonize the solar system. And one day, this impenetrable wall of blackness just pops into existence, surrounding the entire solar system, intersecting with the orbit of Uranus. So everything Saturn and in is blocked from everything outside of that. And humanity goes, what the fuck? And sends a fleet of spaceships out to examine this barrier, which has characteristics kind of like that of a black hole.
Wait, what was this called?
It's called
Universal War 1.
Yeah, Universal War 1.
It's published by Marvel through the Salil line.
Yeah.
And I recommended this in the early 10s.
Really?
I'm a huge fan of this series.
I had completely forgotten.
Yeah,
but in any case,
it's awesome.
It's these people trying to like get through this barrier and find out what's on the other side of it and what created it. And it follows a Suicide Squad like group called the Purgatory Squad of all people who have committed crimes that they should have been court-martialed for. Where basically they say, we're not going to court-martial you, we're going to put you on probation, we're going to put you in this last chance squad to do the super dangerous missions. And so it kind of follows them and going through the barrier, and there's a civil war that happens between Earth and the corporations that are running the colonization effort. And it's really different and really interesting. I really like the art.
Yeah.
It's got really cool colors. The one caveat, I read 2 of the 6 issues. There is a pretty graphic sexual assault that happens in this work. So if that is something that upsets you.
So trigger warning.
Yeah, don't go looking too deeply.
Yeah, they're not the best people.
No, these are all bad people for one reason or another.
Yeah, and each, I think there were like 650-page issues.
Yes.
So it's sort of dense. And there is a Universal War 2.
Is there? I heard that. I looked at it up a little bit.
Yeah.
It said that it was going to be coming out.
As far as I know, it is coming out, but it took 6 years or 5 years for Universal War 1 to come out.
Okay.
It was like 2007 to 2012 or something like that.
Something.
So, I mean, it's done in that, like, European style. Like, it comes out when it's done.
Right. And it was translated and republished by Marvel as 2 hardbacks.
Yeah.
So, you can check that out if you're interested.
Yeah, it's cool.
And maybe we'll talk about it.
Not funny.
What's that?
We'll get to that when I pitch.
Okay. Chard?
I am bringing Spread Volume 1, which is done by Justin Jordan with art by Kyle Strahan. It's kind of like, you know, you guys have seen The Thing, right?
Yeah.
So the thing, like, the whole premise is, like, we got to stop the monster from, like, getting out into the world, or, like, it'll totally fuck the world up because, like, we can't contain it and it'll, like, mess everything up. The Spread is kind of a post-apocalyptic world in which, like, they dug too deep into the earth, they found some stuff, and,
Balrogs.
yeah, basically, right? But now the world is destroyed. So it's a post-apocalyptic tale about this, like, alien sort of virus creature stuff, the Spread, that is just, like, everywhere. And then a guy is, like, wandering the way, this, like, frozen wasteland, and finds a baby, and the baby's, like, not affected by the Spread. And that's the story. So it's, like, it's kind of a post-apocalyptic, like, sort of Mad Max, sort of The Thing, sort of, you know, like, one man on his own doing stuff in a world that is bad. that kind of story. It's that trope.
I would pay money for a movie trailer that was literally that.
That one that guy alone in a world where the world is bad.
And he does stuff.
Yeah, so he's like a guy, and he chops a lot of stuff up with an axe. And there are these, like, very messed up, like, quote unquote civilization towns that kind of, like, hold out against the Spread. And so
cool.
Part zombie story. I mean, they're not zombies, they're just, like, messed up from this, like, infection thing. So anyway, the first volume is out. It's on issue, like, 10, but the first volume is 1 through 6, and it's been a fun series over at Image, so check it out.
Awesome. What's it called again?
Spread. Yeah.
It's about butter replacement substitutes.
Yeah. Called Spread. It's got, the cover is, like, the guy who looks, he's got, like, very Wolverine, like, side mutton choppy stuff, and he's got a baby on the front of him, like Cable, and then he's just, like, covered in blood and has an axe. So
cool.
It's fun.
I'm also going to pitch a French comic.
Ooh.
One that I actually, like, secretly love, and then I've never, like, told anybody about ever, and then I was like, oh yeah, I want to pitch that. So I want to pitch the first 2 series. It's a series called Okko by French artist Hub.
I've pitched this.
Have you?
Yeah.
Not when I'm around. So
apparently I'm the only one that pitches French graphic novels.
So it happens in a mystical Oriental-like world or nation called Panjan.
Yeah.
Which basically Okko and his band of very strange
samurai.
demon hunters, Ronin, mercenary,
yeah.
and his band of strange demon hunters get into trouble and kill some demons. It's kind of like a weird mishmash between, like, Hellboy, the A-Team, and, like, Kurosawa films.
There's a lot of, like Eastern mythic stuff.
Yeah, and I like it because, like, you know, whether or not it's well researched in this sense, but, like, there's just, like, fun demons and, like, monsters, and the characters have some interesting personalities, and they're kind of like a weird dysfunctional merry band. But the series has been released in 2-volume miniseries based on cycles of elements. So the first 2 are water and air, I believe.
There's 4 trades. So there's,
and there actually was a 5th one.
Oh, really?
The Void, yeah.
Oh, I haven't read that one.
Yeah, it's not all done yet.
Yeah, there's water, earth, air.
So I'd pitch, I propose Cycle of Water and Earth because of the first 2 volumes that were created.
Cade, didn't I let you borrow this? Okko?
No, but you did.
I think you might have lent it to me. I remember reading part of it.
I talked to somebody about it.
You did pass it around, and I commented, I think, on how amazing the art was.
Yeah, the art's really cool. I don't know.
Art's good.
It also sidesteps a lot of the, like, problems with, like, mythic histories where it's like, well, where's the history of all this crazy demon shit happening? It's like, well, it's not actually Japan. It's this other sort of Japan-like alternative place.
You pitched this when we were back in the days of Cookie Jail.
Yes, yeah. We were at the house. Yeah,
I love it.
It's a fun series. There's board games and role-playing games of this, too.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know about the board game.
There's a miniature game or a role-playing game in the setting. Like, it's like a setting book or something, so. It's cool, man.
All right.
Cool art.
Cade, what would you like to read?
Cade started. Oh. I understand what's happening now. It's been a long day.
Well, actually, I'm a little confused, and I need you guys' help.
Yes.
Everything I can find on Pretty Deadly, it was a 5-issue limited series that ended in May 2014, and that's it.
Yes. So I did the research. It's coming back in September 2015.
Oh, okay. Because you had said, and the second volume if it's out, and I was like, I didn't know that there was a second volume.
Yeah. Well, I haven't, because I don't keep up with singles, really. So.
Okay, I got a little confused.
So yeah, it's just the first 5 issues.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah, I want to vote for Pretty Deadly.
Sweet.
Kayleigh?
I forgot the name of it, but I'm going with Brant's.
Okko. I am also going to vote for Pretty Deadly.
Whoa.
Chard?
I'm voting for Okko.
Wait, so how does this work?
So it's 2 for Pretty Deadly and 2 for Okko.
So if you vote for anything besides Pretty Deadly, then it goes to our tiebreaker,
which is somebody needs to change their vote from Pretty Deadly or Okko.
But then in the second round, can I then vote for my own book?
I don't know. We didn't account for the situation.
How would I break
I told you guys this was not going to work.
Well, what do you want to vote for, Brant?
Okko. No. I've been interested in Pretty Deadly.
Yeah.
And it'd be good to have a light week with only 5 issues. So we'll do that, and I'll bring Okko back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mignola May. Dude, I read like 40 issues of BPRD yesterday. I love that book, but that's a lot at once.
That's fine. I'll just have a month of redemption picks from things that I've been pitching lately.
I liked our French reprints theme.
Yeah.
We should do another one, because I've brought both of those, and they're both awesome.
Everyone bring a French reprint.
Is there another volume of Black Sad?
There is another volume of Black Sad. There's also Spiro, which is a very like... what's that? Tintin. It's a very like Tintin style.
I was going to say I'll bring back Tintin.
Yeah, it's a very like Tintin style.
Although that's technically
character.
Belgian.
Yeah, that's Belgian.
That's like France white.
Yeah,
Spiro is French. It's like the French Tintin. And he's like a reporter. Or it's not a reporter. He's like because Tintin's a reporter.
Yeah,
he's like a detective or something. I don't know.
Okay.
It's something similar. But that's fun. There's other French.
I was
stuff.
actually just reading a thing. That like listing all the injuries that
killer
Tintin gets over his career.
Yeah,
he gets injured something like 250 times across 24 adventures. 190 of them are concussions.
Oh my god!
Like he should be dead or have massive brain damage.
Well, this is all in what like a 5 to 10 year period. It seems like, as far as he never seems to age. So there needs to be a Tintin comic where he's basically in his 40s to early 50s, and he's got an NFL player.
Yeah,
it's like all kinds of crazy brain trauma.
Yeah, like a punchy boxer.
Yeah.
The Killer is also French. Which Joe and I have both recommended. There's lots of great French graphic novels out there, people.
It's almost as if there is a long and rich tradition of French comic books.
Yeah,
it is actually like a nationally supported art form there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we get our word anime from France.
Yeah.
Oh, those wacky French.
So, I have a funny story.
Do it
for you internet people, because I got a very funny text while Tobiah was pitching his book, which is why I missed the name when he said it the first time. I have a friend who's getting into backpacking, and if you guys have been listening to the show a long time, you know that I do a lot of hiking and mountain climbing and stuff.
He backpacks. He backpacks.
My friend was commenting on the amount of whistles that come attached to backpacking gear. You buy a backpack and it's got a whistle sewn into it.
Bear whistles, man.
And he's like, what are these for? And I'm like, bears.
Those are for bears.
Because the most dangerous animal in Washington are bears.
Yeah, you can whistle and let them know that dinner's ready. Like, come and get it.
Yeah, and apparently it's because they have such bad hearing that they will not actually hear you walk up behind them and then they get scared and kill you.
That's what bear bells.
Yes.
I've heard of this, and it's all coming back to me now from my backpacking days.
Yeah, and because Washington has both black bears and grizzly bears, bears are so dangerous.
Though. They're little.
Yeah, bear bells are like jingle bells you wear for that very reason. Is like
you wear them on your backpack.
They alert you. They like let the bear know that you're coming. You're like real loud.
I have in my setup, I actually have 4 whistles that I can get to in the span of less than a second. I've got one on my right shoulder, one on my left shoulder, one hangs from the hip belt, and another on my water bottle.
Nice.
One-man band.
Yeah. But, so, sorry, we're doing Pretty Deadly, right? That's what happened.
Deadly. Well, I had a question before we absolutely confirm that. We've been having a Patreon-supported pitch. Is that...
We do not have one for this week.
Okay, just
Tony Cortero has one for the month of May. He has not chosen to exercise that right yet. I emailed him once. I'll email him again.
Okay. I just didn't want to, mess that up and then have...
No, we don't yet have 4 people at that subscriber level that would give us 1 pitch each week.
We have 2 people, maximum of 4, so if we fill up all of those slots, it would be 1 each week. But right now, we just have the 2.
Okay.
So we are good.
So there you go. And we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for listening, everybody.
And we'll see you on June 6th at the Olympia Comics Festival.
Yeah, and tweet me that question of the week. Those pics of LA.
Oh, yeah. Where in LA is Ghost Rider set?
Yeah. So yeah, see you next time, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Me From the Gutters. I hope our recommendations have inspired you to go out and find some new comics you'll enjoy. Join us next time for a discussion of our selected title, but like every week, we encourage you to read all of the recommended books. In the meantime, please leave us an iTunes review. It really does help new listeners find the show. You can also like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube, and follow us on Twitter at ViewFRTHGutters. Feel free to email us at contact@viewfromthegutters.com. Please send us any questions, comments, or recommendations you might have. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as we post new videos every week. And thanks again for listening. And as always, keep reading.